Coming in at number 10, we have Corey and Leah's relationship. Glee stars Lea Michele and Corey Monteith didn't go public with their relationship until 2012, but according to Garrett Greer, an assistant to the executive producer on seasons 1 and 2, they first got together years earlier in 2009. He would go on to say they had been an item before the show premiered, and during season 1, or part of it anyway, Lea and Corey were involved, and then later the relationship came back full force. Later, Garrett would go on to describe Lea as a narcissist, and then would go on to note that the other members on the Glee set also didn't think they were a good match. Even the set decorator, Barbara Munch, would make a comment about the relationship when she said it seemed odd because it was about her always, and I think he just accepted that. Doug Kirkpatrick, head of hair department in season 3, would also go on to say that Corey and Leah's relationship also had a negative side effect on Corey's mental state. And he said a lot of Corey's confusion had a lot to do with his relationship with Lea Michele. I don't know if she was a friend. I think she was involved with him because he was on a TV show. Patrick Chinzel, a key assistant location member, would also ask the ultimate question if that Lea was good for Corey, and then he would go on to say, I hope so, I would think so. I know other people who say maybe. That wasn't necessarily true. It seems like people didn't really understand why Corey was dating Lea, and many felt like she wasn't good enough for him. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Number 9, Corey Monteith's substance struggles. According to Frederick Robertson, during the early Glee days, Corey Monteith was really concerned about maintaining a clean image. When he got the role, he knew he was supposed to be a good kid, and he didn't want his past getting out. With Glee being the beginning of his success, he didn't want the world to know that he was struggling with alcohol and substances. While his struggles may have been kept a secret to the public, Corey had no problem with disclosing them to his close friends and roommate, Justin Neal. In 2008, Corey would admit to Justin about his substance use in the past and that he was trying to stay sober as it was a big part of his life. According to the docuseries, Corey started skipping school to do substances at the age of 13, and he went on to attend a dozen schools, including programs for troubled teens, and often stole large sums of cash from his family. At the age of 19, his mother and friends staged an intervention, leading him to enter into a rehab program in 2001. It wasn't until Glee's second season that he went public with his struggles, admitting in an interview that he wanted to share his past so people didn't assume he was exactly like his all-star character, Finn Hudson, by saying, I feel like I had to step in at some point and relate to people with my experience and where I come from. Corey's publicist, Leslie Diana, also said he wanted to go public to help others, as Corey wanted to show them that you could come out on the other side and do well in life. Coming in at number 8, we have Naya Rivera and Lea Michele's hated each other. If you were a fan of Glee, or you watched just one episode, then you would know it's no secret that Naya, who played cheerleader Santana, and Lea, who played the dorky Glee girl no one liked, Michele, were at odds most of the time, but you may not know they were at odds in real life as well. Naya herself, who passed away in an accident while she was boating in 2020, wrote about the friction in her 2016 memoir, Sorry Not Sorry, and would write, one of the Glee writers said that Lea and I were like two sides of the same battery, and that about sums us up. We are both strong-willed and competitive, not with each other but everyone, and that's not a good mixture. In the documentary, Naya's father, George, spoke of the pair's rivalry, and he would say there was always a fight between them, always. Everybody knew, everybody saw it. They hated each other, but at the same time respected each other's talent. George would also note that Naya even complained about Lea to production, and it would cause Naya to be briefly let go from the cast. Number 7, Naya Rivera's dad's warning. Naya Rivera's dad, George, recalled the last time he spoke to his daughter, which happened to be via FaceTime shortly before she passed away. George would go on to say, I get a sinking feeling because we've been boating forever. I was on FaceTime with her, trying to talk her through the pitfalls. First of all, I said, Naya, you're on a pontoon boat. That's not a boat. Why are you on a pontoon boat? I said, do not jump off that effing boat. If you got an anchor, you can anchor it, but do you know how to anchor it? We went through a couple of interactions like that, and then the FaceTime call hung up, and that was the last time I talked to her. After he received a call from authorities about his daughter, George would begin a multi-day drive from Knoxville, Tennessee to Ventura County, California, but even though he considered his daughter was a really good swimmer, he instinctively feared the worst by saying, "I knew immediately when I got the phone call in Knoxville that it was over. You don't find a drifting 5-year-old child asleep on the boat at the end of the lake without his mother and have any hope. I had no hope." And speaking about his grief, he would also say, "I don't process it. I don't know what everyone else does, but for me, it's as fresh today as it was 2 years ago." He would also later add that Naya knew she was on a really good show with lots of tragedies, and that he didn't know if you could equate that to fame, but he thought it had something to do with it. Number 6. Fame. Cory Monteith's former roommate Neil said that Cory struggled with fame as Glee's popularity skyrocketed and the show's fandom intensified by saying there was a period where it seemed Cory was getting more and more isolated. He just got to the point where he just hated fame. He said, "I'm just so tired, I want to rest a bit, I'm sick of singing these songs," and I remember him specifically saying, "I wouldn't wish fame on my worst enemy." Neil then continued to say, "I'd seen the fame, but I didn't realize how hard it was until then. I think with that level of fame you lose sight of who you are to every single person. He wasn't Cory anymore, he was now Finn. We just knew he wasn't in the best place." Neil would also add in the second episode in the documentary The Price of Glee that Cory became frustrated with Glee's demanding schedule and wanted more freedom with his career as he had to turn down movies and he was becoming more neurotic and isolated. However, Neil did know as much as he didn't like fame, he knew how lucky he was and never took that for granted. Number 5. The competitive cast. The cast members in Glee were all relatively unknown before they appeared on the show, and as they begun to become a household name, their social media pages also started to take off. As Glee increased popularity, so did its stars. When the cast members' social media began to rise, they were all poised to dominate emerging platforms, but their competition wasn't always friendly according to the docu-series commentators. Doug Kirkpatrick, who was head of the hair department in season 3, would note that he would often see the actors gathered talking about how many people they acquired as followers and that it quickly became a competition. He would also say, in the beginning, they had to tweet every day, and it was Leah who really had the numbers. Journalist Andy Swift would also note that the actors started competing on their social media pages and they almost began to fight about it immediately. So it must have hurt a lot knowing that even in real life they would be inferior to Lea Michele. Number 4. Peer pressure. One of the most controversial allegations in the documentary hinted that Cory Monteith was sober before his passing, but that a co-star encouraged him to drink and it went downhill from there. In the documentary, hair department head Doug Kirkpatrick recalled one of the final times he saw Cory in the troubling story the actor allegedly told him. Doug would say he wasn't drinking, he didn't have any substances in his system, and then the very last couple of days I saw him, he was different. He was under the influence of alcohol, he said he was at a party, he hadn't been drinking, he wanted to have a drink but knew he shouldn't, and he was told by a certain cast member that same night, "You know, if you want to have a drink, you should have a drink. I'll be here for you. You can always trust that I'll be here for you." Doug also would go on to add his opinion by saying, "In my opinion, you would never say that to someone who is sober," and so that confused him and kind of made him mad, and he started drinking because he was given permission by somebody. While Doug did refuse to mention any names, he would choose to keep the alleged Glee member a secret because he wasn't there when it happened and he didn't hear the Glee member say it in person himself. However, Doug would add that Cory resented it but also took the direction and that he believes this was the moment that sent him on the path to self-destruction. Mark Salling was largely unknown before he landed the role as Noah Puck Puckerman, who was Finn's best friend, and like Cory, he was a bit older than the rest of the cast. At the time, it has been said that both Mark and Cory were 26 when Glee premiered, but according to Munch, Salling's age wasn't the only thing that made him stand out among his co-stars. Munch would say he was quieter, for sure, and kept to himself because I think he felt more of an adult than the others. Just was, you know, a bit off and he wasn't just a regular young man. He had some issues going on, it seemed obvious. Then a few months after Glee ended its 6th season run in 2015, Salling was arrested for possession of illegal photos and videos that contained younger people on them, a charge he ultimately pleaded guilty as part of a plea deal. He then took his own life on January 30th, 2018, shortly before he was scheduled to be sentenced. Even Glee director of photography Christopher Baffa from seasons 1 to 3 would say Salling's offset behavior didn't jive the person he experienced, but he acknowledged that actors are typically on their best behavior once they get around the crew. How did he get there? He was a great guy. What happened? I don't know. Number 2. forced return. While creator Ryan Murphy now believes Glee should have ended after Corey's passing, at the time he largely left the decision up to Lea Michele, with various options on the table including a 6-month hiatus or cancelling the show altogether. Lea chose to return to work just 2 weeks after her boyfriend and co-star's passing. Back in 2013, Lea would tell Ellen, "I said we have to go back to work, we have to, they're my family." However, many of the cast members interviewed in the docuseries were not supportive of this call. Jodie Tanka said it was only a couple of weeks, all of the actors had just pulled themselves together to get back to work, everyone was kind of forced to. J.A. Byerly, a rigging gaffer on seasons 1 to 5, said Fox was conscious that Glee was about to cross the 100 episode mark, the traditional threshold for ultra profitable. They wanted a product, so we spit out a project. They were looking for 100 episodes. In October 2013, Glee paid tribute to Corey in The Quarterback, the 3rd episode of season 5, and the episode follows the members of the Glee Club as they cope with their grief in the wake of Finn's passing, honoring his memory with emotional performances of songs from Season of Love, If I Die Young, and Make You Feel My Love. Glee ultimately went on for 2 more seasons after Corey's passing, but Byerly says he was never far from the cast and crew's minds, and you could always feel an emptiness because Corey wasn't around anymore. And coming in at number 1 today, we have the Glee curse. Over the past few years, there has been much talk about the Glee curse, but the cast seemed to reject this theory. Kyle Birch would say, "I remember someone mentioning the Glee curse to one of the cast members, and they got pretty upset about it because they were like, no, this show is not cursed. There is no Glee curse." Garrett Greer would add that bad things happen, it's life, and unfortunately with Glee there was more tragedy than any other show, but not everything can be full with sunshine and rainbows. Christopher Baffa would also add that ultimately those close to Glee want the show to be remembered for spreading inclusivity and positivity, not tragedy. He would also say, "I don't think Glee is ever going to outlive the tragedies of some of the cast tensions or some of the things that were said about it, but I'd hate to have those aspects as real as they are take away from the good that was achieved, because I do believe that good was achieved."
First up on our list today is Marlon Brando. Marlon Brando is considered to be one of the most handsome Hollywood stars to grace the silver screen. He is also known for being an extremely talented actor who led a bit of a rough and tumble life. But what you may not know is that his ladies' man attitude resulted in various affairs and marriages, and well, 8 kids, with the actor adopting 3 additional kids on top of that. And sadly, some of these children would have extremely unhappy lives. In 1990, one of Marlon Brando's sons, Christian, shot his sister Sheehan's boyfriend. Apparently, he had suspected that Sheehan's boyfriend was harming her physically, and so Christian ended up taking his life when the altercation escalated. He was charged with manslaughter and served 6 years in prison. Sadly, that wasn't the only horror that the Brando children would go through, as only 5 years later, Sheehan tragically ended up taking her own life after a diagnosis with schizophrenia and a steady mental decline. Next on the list is Liv Tyler. We all know her as the stunning half-elf woman in Lord of the Rings. She's also known as the daughter of Steven Tyler, the eccentric frontman of Aerosmith. However, that wasn't always the case. Liv Tyler was originally born as Liv Rundgren, and she believed that the famous musician and music producer Todd Rundgren was her father. However, a chance encounter as an 8-year-old with Steven Tyler started to unravel Liv's true parentage. During the meeting, Steven pointed out the eerie similarities between his own daughter and Liv, which led to her mother finally confessing the secret. Liv wasn't related to Todd at all, and in fact, her mother had kept the secret to protect her daughter because Steven was going through some serious substance issues at the time of their brief relationship. Liv eventually changed her last name to Tyler, but kept Rundgren as her middle name in homage to the man who raised her as his own at some point. Damn, I wish I had 2 rock star dads. Next up is MMA legend Ronda Rousey. She's got a spectacular record, and it's impossible to penetrate her amazing fighting legacy as she has cemented herself as one of the greats. Her personal life though, well, a little touchier. In fact, Ronda has a history of aggression in her past relationships, having violently harmed an ex-boyfriend. She is also a conspiracy theorist who has some extremely harmful opinions. She shared on her Twitter that she believes that the horrifying Sandy Hook incident was actually a manufactured incident and that the people and children involved were actually actors. I can't think of anything more harmful and disgusting than promoting that the real-life harm of was done to take away guns from Americans. Ronda shared the video and described it as, quote, extremely interesting and a must-watch documentary. Eventually, after obvious backlash, Rhonda deleted the video and her manager attempted to scrub any trace of it from the internet, which obviously didn't happen because it is in fact the internet. Next up is Frank Sinatra. The smooth-singing romantic who charmed his audiences into the Hall of Greats has a seriously dark secret personal life. In fact, every move Frank Sinatra made was meticulously tracked by the FBI for 40 years in pages and pages of files. Why, you may ask? Well, outside of being held in suspicion for dodging the draft because of a supposed ear infection, he is also thought to have strong mafia ties. He's been seen in cahoots with a revolving cast of characters connected to the criminal underworld, including Chicago mob boss Sam Giancana, with whom he was close friends. Apparently, the FBI was so closely tracking Sinatra because he had introduced Sam to John F. Kennedy's campaign for presidency in an attempt to deliver Union votes. Dodging the draft and electing John F. Kennedy, Sinatra is a man after my own heart. Next up is the actor who portrayed Spider-Man in the original Spider-Man movies, you know, the ones with the PlayStation font. Well, Tobey Maguire has had an insane childhood that was largely hidden from the public when he became an A-lister. He came from a very financially strained family. His parents adopted several of his cousins after his aunt passed away suddenly, and the weight of now caring for all these kids left them destitute and broke. In a desperate attempt to provide for all these children, Toby's dad attempted to rob a bank. His attempt was unsuccessful, and his father had to spend some time in prison for his crime. Thankfully though, he was released after a few years because it was his first time offending, and the judge sympathized with his cause. Luckily for them, they made it out of the ordeal, and now Toby is an internationally recognized celebrity. Next on the list is Kevin Spacey, and not for what you might think, because really nothing can keep what he did a secret, and his attempts at hiding it are abysmal at best. But what you may not know is that there are more than a few skeletons in his closet, and he's got one secret that I actually didn't know. Kevin's left-leaning political views are very well known, so it may come as a surprise that his father was vehemently racist and believed that white people were a superior race. Kevin refuses to talk about his father, but his siblings have opened up a handful of times about their traumatic childhood, often describing their father as an evil monster. Apparently, their father would also continually his kids while they were growing up, and it got so bad that Kevin's brother Randy almost took the life of his father while the young boy was hiding in a closet, but he never opened the door. Although Kevin is a reprehensible human being, no boy deserves to grow up in such a horrifying environment. Next up is a K-pop idol whose secret is definitely out of the bag at this point. We all know just how strict and borderline harmful the K-pop industry is towards its stars, often restricting diets to near starvation in an attempt to get their already lean singers to lose weight, alongside 12 to 20 hours a day of dance practice. But one K-pop idol from the band Bang Bang has some dark underground secrets that only recently came to light. Seungri was sentenced last year to 3 years in prison for the crime of running an underground nightclub that bet heavily on foreign casinos where gambling is illegal. He was also charged with providing women to business executives for, services. Apparently, he's been doing this for years, and we only recently found out during a Korean military bust. Now it seems like sadly his K-pop days are over as he spends the next 3 years behind bars. Next up is Hollywood actor Casey Affleck. I'm surprised we haven't done this one yet, honestly. Known for movies like Manchester by the Sea and Gone Baby Gone, Affleck is a critic's best friend. But he's not everyone's best friend. In fact, Casey has been accused by multiple women of committing horrifying acts against them. Some say that he snuck into their bedrooms, others that when they refused his advances, he sent them violent and aggressive texts. Other women have said that he ordered a crew member to expose himself to this one woman. All of these allegations were attempted to be taken to court to be filed as multi-million-dollar lawsuits, but they were both settled for unknown amounts. Thanks to these settlements, we may never know if these accusations are true or not, but it seems really odd that not many people are talking about it these days. In fact, when asked about it, Casey brushes it off as hearsay, and his dark past seems to be fading into secrecy once again. Second to first on our list is Oprah Winfrey. The talk show host who revolutionized the game, Oprah's name is synonymous with the monolithic empire she's built surrounding her image. She's known for her lovable, relatable, and welcoming personality. But her humble beginnings make her rise to fame all the more deserved. In fact, Oprah was born in Mississippi to a single teenager mom, and she grew up in extreme poverty. During her childhood, the cost of raising a baby became too much for the young mother, so she sent Oprah to go live with her father, or at least one of the men who she thinks might have been her father. During her time with her dad, Oprah's mom gave birth to 2 more babies, one of which was given up for adoption. The real kicker here is that Oprah only found out about her sister Patricia in 2010. While a gut reaction to this news may be to cast harsh judgment on Oprah's mother, it is important to remember that it is impossible to know what it is like unless you have been in her position. For those who have been, we think you understand the brevity of her decision. Last up is Nicolas Cage. Now, I guess it's not exactly a dark secret here, and I am maybe cheating a little bit, but I only just found this out when I was writing the script, and wow, wild. Anyways, Nicolas Cage is known for his fun and sometimes extremely cheesy acting in movies like Face Off and Ghost Rider. But what you may not know is that Nicolas Cage isn't even his real name. In fact, Cage's birth name is Nicholas Kim Coppola, and his uncle is the famed director Francis Ford Coppola. The name change resulted from his wish not to cash in on the fame associated with the Coppola name in Hollywood, though the actor did end up appearing in several of Francis's films. It is quite believable when thinking about it for a few seconds, as both talents are just as eccentric as the other. The principal difference is that Francis Ford Coppola's odd ideals gave the world masterpieces like The Godfather and Apocalypse Now, while Cage gifts audiences with wild overacting and melodrama. Starting off this countdown in no particular order, we've got Jon Hamm. Jon Hamm is most notably famous for his role in the hit television series Mad Men as a cutthroat advertising executive. What he may not want you to know about him, however, were his less than savory college days that landed him in some serious trouble. In 1990, Jon was arrested for his alleged role in a fraternity hazing that turned horribly violent. His fraternity house was even dissolved after Hamm and his friends harmed a pledge so violently that he was in the hospital, even going as far as to light him on fire. Jon was charged with a misdemeanor offense, and when he was asked about it in 2018, his response wasn't the best. Quote, "I was essentially acquitted. I wasn't convicted of anything. I was caught up in a big situation, a stupid kid in a stupid situation, and it was a bummer. I moved on from it." Okay, now we're moving on, I guess. And at number 9 is Billy Tipton. Billy Tipton, if you haven't heard of him, was a revered jazz musician who rose to fame in the 1940s and 1950s. He lived his life in relative normalcy outside of his celebrity status. Although he was never married, he did have 5 serious girlfriends, all of whom referred to themselves as Miss Tipton. Eventually, he settled down with a woman named Kelly, and they adopted 3 sons together. It wasn't until his death from a stomach ulcer in 1989 that, as he was being rushed to the hospital, his giant secret was uncovered. Billy Tipton was born a woman and had concealed his sex throughout his entire life, even from his relationships. The revelation came as, quote, "a shock to nearly everyone, including the women who had considered themselves his wives, as well as his sons and the musicians who traveled with him." To explain away any intimacy that would have happened between his partners, Billy reportedly said that he was in a serious car accident that mutilated his body, leaving him unable to perform. At the time this was revealed, it sent shockwaves through the music scene where trans performers were basically completely unheard of. At number 8 is Richard Pryor, the iconic comedian who is often cited as direct inspiration for other comedy legends like Eddie Murphy and Dave Chappelle. Pryor changed the game. But what you may not know is that there was an extremely dark past behind the All Smiles comic. Richard grew up in an extremely unstable childhood, raised by a substance-using mother in a brothel in Illinois. Richard saw things that no child should ever have to see, and to cope with such a horrifying childhood, he also turned to substance use to self-medicate. Richard was married 7 times to 5 different women who had trouble with the comic's insatiable personal life. He even almost passed away at his own hand when he doused himself in rum and lit himself on fire while using substances. Pryor's friend even stated in an interview, quote, "He has about 13 personalities, and while you could deal with 9 of them, the other 4 are a nightmare." And at number 7 is Prince. The iconic pop singer is considered one of the greatest musicians to have ever lived, but he also had a secret that was only uncovered upon his tragic and sudden death in 2016. After he passed, many stories started to come to light as both bank statements became public and from various sources. These bank statements revealed that Prince had been secretly secretly donating insane sums of money to various charities throughout his life, each with the condition that the donation be private and that the donor be kept a secret. A few organizations that he did support in the days before his death were the Harlem Children's Zone and Uptown Dance Academy, New York. He even donated $12,000 to the Louisville Free Public Library in order to keep it from closing, all under the condition that they keep his name unlisted from donor records. He reportedly gave thousands away at a time, particularly to charities related to children, as his own child tragically passed away after only 6 days of life. He also focused on environmental issues, and uniquely, unlike a lot of celebrities who choose to invest so they get a financial return, Prince just donated to foundations that support environmental causes and a transition to solar power. Number 6. Jimmy Page. Jimmy Page is the virtuoso guitarist and founder of Led Zeppelin. Jimmy is largely known as one of the greatest guitarists in the history of rock music. I mean, he set the standard for the many who have imitated his electric style. Yet, what he may not want you to know about him is his predatory relationship with a young girl who was only 14 at the time. While he toured with Led Zeppelin, Jimmy dated Lori Maddox, although they kept their relationship extremely private and basically hidden because it was, you know, illegal and creepy. Even in the loose 70s, this relationship could have put Page in jail. They dated for a little while, and who knows what they did behind the scenes, but Jimmy eventually dumped her for BB Bell, who was of age at the time, thank God. Either way, not a fan of this one. In at number 5 is Matthew Broderick. Matthew Broderick is known largely for his titular role as Ferris Bueller in the John Hughes coming-of-age film Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He was also in The Producers and a bunch of other A-list movies. What you may not know about him, however, is that he was directly involved and in fact caused the death of numerous people. He and Jennifer Grey, the star of Dirty Dancing, were on a romantic vacation in Ireland when Matthew head-on hit the car of a 28-year-old woman and her mother. Both women were pronounced dead at the hospital. The road was straight and easy to navigate. The issue was that they were in Ireland, and he, out of habit, drove on the wrong side of the road, which led to the crash. Following the accident, Broderick was convicted of careless driving but was only fined $175, which to this day the family of the victims called a quote travesty of justice. At number 4 is Jackie Chan. While Jackie Chan appeared as a comedic kung fu fighting man on the screen, his personal life is absolutely insane and surprisingly not well known. In fact, Jackie himself didn't know until well into his career just how many secrets were being kept in his family. He learned in 2003 that he had 2 secret brothers living in China and that his father was a nationalist spy on secret missions to bust substance crime in mainland China. In fact, that's where he met Jackie's mother. In what seems like a moment straight out of a noir crime boss movie, Jackie's father met his mother, Lily Chan, because he was sent to bust her as an infamous dealer and legendary gambler in Shanghai. So, his mother was one of the lords of the Chinese underbelly, and his father was sent to arrest her. The two fled to Australia together, where they lived until their death. Jackie's father also revealed that the actor's real family name isn't Chan at all, but rather Fang. How's that for a family reunion? In at number 3 is Rose McGowan. Rose was one of the founding spokespersons in the Me Too movement, joining dozens of women who brought Harvey Weinstein to justice. She is best known for her 90s movies like Jawbreaker, Scream, and Encino Man. But what you may not know about her is her rather horrifying upbringing. She was born in Florence, Italy, where her parents lived in a commune called the Children of God. Basically, she was born into a cult that had mass allegations of horrifying crimes against humanity. I can't really say what they are because of YouTube restrictions, but if you're curious, I suggest you look into it with a serious content warning in mind. The cult in question lured people in with promises of all kinds of physical intimacy and activities, with extremely young women set to perform such acts on the men in the cult. Luckily for Rose, she was largely protected from the more heinous side of the cult, and she and her family fled when she was 14 years old, where, quote, "We hid in an old stone house and had to boil pots of water to take baths. The cult sent people to find us. I remember a man trying to break in with a hammer." Number 2 on the list, Rihanna. While the celebrity singer is in the news lately for her exciting pregnancy with A$AP Rocky, what you may not know about her is her rather insane early life, and the secrets that they kept even from her until they were finally brought to light. Old family photos were unearthed that reveal a secret side of the family that Rihanna herself rarely ever talks about: her father's other kids. Rihanna has 3 older siblings through her father by 3 different women, as he admitted to being quite the womanizer in his heyday. Her and her father have an extremely complicated relationship, as he has dealt with substance use issues for most of his life. And now to find out that she had 3 other siblings she knew nothing about, it's a wonder the two have stuck together through so much. And in at number 1 is Mark Wahlberg. The actor and singer needs no introduction, but he may need a little disclaimer beside his his name for the rather horrifying incident he caused in the 80s. When he was 16 years old, Mark had an extremely harsh life, and he ended up brutally harming an elderly Vietnamese man in a racially motivated attack. He shouted slurs at him while physically harming him so badly that Mark was charged with attempted murder. While he was sentenced to 2 years in prison, for some reason he only served 45 days. In a beautiful show of faith, his victim, whose name is Johnny Trin, stated that he forgives Mark. Quote, "Everyone deserves another chance. He was young and reckless, but I forgive him now. He paid for his crime when he went to prison." Mark got a pardon from the court, basically exonerating him from his crime, an action that he later stated he regrets. Quote, "I didn't need that. I spent 28 years righting the wrong. I was relieved to find out that the injuries to his eye had occurred in the early 70s and not from the incident that happened that night, but I was able to meet with him and his wife and his daughter and apologize for these horrific acts. Some good can come out of it."
Starting off our list today at number 10, we have Ben Affleck. Okay, so we've all been wondering what happened between Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez at the Grammys. Well, thanks to Anna, a seat filler, she took to her TikTok to address what was going on between them after Ben was spotted looking not so happy during the ceremony. Apparently Ben was looking a little gloomy because he wasn't really happy that he was going viral for his facial expressions. Ben was really upset at the fact that he was going viral again, as previously the actor and director went viral for the sad Affleck meme a while back. Anna in a video continued to say he knew during the performance that he was a meme, like he knew, and he also chose just not to change his expression, and also went on to note that she didn't know the meme of Ben Affleck being an upset at the award show, and she didn't speak to him while she was seated beside him because he didn't look so happy. Number 9, Trevor Noah. After this year's Grammy, a girl named Pan exposed a bunch of celebrities at the Grammys and how they acted throughout the night. Now, it's no lie that celebrities don't want seat fillers to sit next to them because they don't want any of their drama at their table to be revealed, so they do give them a bit of a hard time when they do try to fill empty seats so the tables don't look empty. When Pan sat down in one of Beyonce's seats, Beyonce's bodyguard, Julius DeBoer, even told her to leave the seat, which resulted in her taking a seat that Trevor Noah was in. While she was sitting in the seat, she was sitting beside J-Lo. Just when the commercial break started, Pan noticed that Trevor was making his way back over, and when he arrived, he told her to stand up. When she did, he quickly sat down and started greeting J-Lo, which left the fan in a position where she didn't know where to go. Hey my little peaches, are you liking this video so far? If so, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Coming number 8, we have Jennifer Lopez. While Anna was exposing what happened between Ben and J-Lo, she would explain that Jennifer was on her phone and realized that her husband was going viral for his expression. When she shared the news with Ben, he wasn't so happy about the trend. To the point when Jennifer showed him the phone, she said, "Honey, this is so funny, look at this." He responded by saying, "Jesus Christ." So we all saw that video where a lip reader was hired by the Daily Mail that alleged that Jennifer told Ben to stop, look more friendly, and to look motivated. However, Anna claimed that the whole time the couple was actually super dovey and they had their hands intertwined and that it was really cute, and while she was sitting next to them, it actually wasn't what the Daily Mail was making it out to be. As she said, she wasn't like, "Oh my god, this is going to lead to a divorce," as she thought they were cute and she had a great time sitting next to them for the time that she was sitting there for. Coming at number 7, Ariana Grande. Terry George, the man who was mistaken for Billie Eilish's grandfather at the 2020 Grammys, seemed like he had a lot of fun that night as he was adopted into Billie's entourage. However, one star didn't rub off so nice on him. When he had the opportunity to speak about the event, he let it know who it was. During his interview, he said he was having such a great time with Billie that he even got to pose for photos with the singer. However, one person who wasn't so keen on taking selfies with him was Ariana Grande. When Terry was asked by Insider if Ariana was acting like a bit of a diva, he would respond to the outlet by saying, "Yeah, she was." He then went on to say somebody had gotten up and said, "Oh, I'm gonna get a selfie with Ariana Grande," and that's when he thought that it would be good if he could get one as well. However, when Terry finally made his way to her to ask for a photo, she refused and told him, "Not right now, I'm not in the mood." Terry also went on to note that she didn't win an award that night, so that's probably why she was so upset and acted like a diva. Number 6, Louis Capaldi. Louis Capaldi never got exposed at the Grammys, however he did once get mistaken for being a seat filler at the show in 2020. While the star was a nominee for his song Someone You Loved, the musician's big award show moment was interrupted when someone confused him for being a seat filler. According to Louis himself on Twitter, there was a bit of a mix-up at the ceremony when he said, "A lady at the Grammys has just come up and offered to take my seat because she thought I was one of those people who sits in chairs to fill them when someone gets up to use the bathroom." Louis didn't have any hard feelings regarding the awkward moment and appeared to enjoy the ceremony just the same. The singer didn't go on to share anything else about his Grammy experience that night, however, he did share a pre-show peek of himself in the bathroom for all his fans to see, so he was clearly having fun. Number 5. The Rock. Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez wouldn't be the only one exposed during the 2023 Grammy show this year, as Pan, who won a spot to be a seat filler at the event, explained throughout the show her job was to fill seats so no empty seats were shown on camera. Well, sometimes this can be really difficult for the seat fillers, as some celebrities just refuse to let them sit next to them or tell them that their partners or friends are actually sitting in them and that they'll be back soon and to not take their seats. It wasn't Pan's first time attending an award show, and the Grammys would be the first time that she actually got to sit among the stars. When on the floor, Pan had to follow many rules, which included her not talking to celebrities who didn't engage in conversation with her first. During her time on the floor, she actually broke that rule when she decided to make the opportunity to talk to The Rock by asking him if the seat next to him was taken. Then Rock kinda gave her the cold shoulder, like many celebrities who don't want to sit next to someone random, and told her it was. Number 4. Chris Stapleton. In 2022, Natalie Bickle was one of the lucky 150 winners of the seat lottery for the Grammy Awards. While the seat fillers fill empty seats so they can give the illusion of filled seats throughout the night, it becomes a fun moment of musical chairs for any of the lucky winners. While moving around the floor, the fillers are not allowed to initiate in any conversation with any celebrities, but you can have a conversation with them if they talk to you first. While Natalie got close to many stars, she even got to talk to some people at Chris Stapleton's table when she said that she took his seat at his table when he was getting an award. While she was at the table, some of his entourage members did talk to her for a bit, however when Chris went back to claim his seat, didn't acknowledge Natalie whatsoever. Number 3. Justin Bieber. Not only did Natalie Bickle note that she had an awkward moment with Chris Stapleton when he returned back to his seat, but she also noted how sweet Justin Bieber's friendship really is with Billie Eilish, and how she loved watching Justin react to Billie's performances. In her interview with The Insider, Natalie said that whenever Billie Eilish was performing, Justin Bieber was the first to stand up and give her a standing ovation. Natalie then recalled the moment was actually really neat, and she found the overall gesture really adoring and sweet, as Billie has been a very outspoken Bieber fan for years, and Justin has even been really protective over Billie, as he knows how hard it can be for kids entering into the industry. So it's really sweet to know that he actually really cares about her and wants to make her experience better than his was. Coming number 2, we do have Billie Eilish. Apparently being a seat filler at the Grammys guarantees that you will leave with some great stories to tell your mates. And this is exactly what happened to Terry George, who ended up being able to sit with Billie Eilish. In the process, he actually ended up getting mistaken for the singer's granddad. The former secret millionaire star told Yorkshire Live that fans made the assumption based on the fact that he was cheering on her win. Terry then went on to say, "I went to the Grammys as a seat filler and ended up sitting next to Billie Eilish when she was winning her awards, and it's probably the best seat in the house. It's what I call a golden seat, really." Terry would then later reveal that Billie is actually just as sweet in real life that we all expected her to be, when he said, as her and her brother made him feel like he was a part of the group. As when she won the award, both grabbed his hand before she headed to the stage to claim her award, and when she returned, Terry asked her what she was going to do if she won the next award, to which Billie said, "Oh my goodness, I don't know what I'm going to do." And coming in at number 1 today, we have Olivia Rodrigo. This year the Grammys wasn't really filled with any drama, which is actually really boring to see. However, some seat fillers did share all the fun memories they made while attending the show. One of the night's seat winners, Cameron Carlson from North Dakota, even got to fist bump Harry Styles. At one point during the night too, Cameron would note that he was seated on the right side of the venue at a table behind Olivia Rodrigo, and he explained that the award recipient, Harry Styles, would frequently pass by his seat and even did this little victory lap before he fist bumped him. And then when he went to perform, at one point he noticed that James Corden and Olivia Rodrigo were dancing, and that's when he noticed Olivia was jamming out a little too hard and she actually knocked down her chair in the process. Cameron would then say, "I was like, okay, I'm here to be a hero." So he ran over, picked up her chair, Olivia thanked him, and even gave him a half hug, and he found the altercation to be like very crazy.